I think it's two separate things. But I remember, and I think I said this when I was there, that I remember what it was like to be that age and have those magazines and look up to those girls. There were people on television and movies, musicians, whatever they were, that I admired, that I strived to be like. And if it can be even the smallest bit of an inspiration to believe that your dreams can come true and that you can follow your dreams, then I think that's an honor. I was just joking today that in the beginning I always had to wear skirts and little dresses as Buffy, and I can't remember the last time I did an episode where I wasn't wearing jeans. It's definitely a relief for a little bit. You know, as anything, you need to keep your creative juices flowing and to keep the character interesting. And because Buffy really has become the straight man, every once in a while it's nice to be the one that tells the joke, and it's nice to be the one that is the joke. And it's nice to do something that's a little bit different. I wouldn't change Buffy for anything, and I wouldn't change the course in which she has evolved, but it is nice to be able to do something that is a little different. You know, there's a part of me that will always believe that Angel is Buffy's true love. That there will be a piece of her heart that will always be with him for the rest of her life. It doesn't mean that's the person that she's meant to be with eternally. The thing about Buffy and Spike is they understand each other on a level that nobody else understands her. They've both lived 100 lives, and I think there's a connection there that we will see evolve over the next couple of years, where she realizes that he really is someone that she can trust, and someone that's a companion to her, and someone that really understands her unlike anybody else. Do I feel old? Is that what the question is? Because that's what everyone keeps asking. Do I feel old? Like I'm getting too old and they bring someone younger on. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you sort of find yourself acting in a sisterly way to the
point where she probably hates having me around. She already has an older sister, and I think I'm harder on her than her older sister is, but she's capable of so much, and so it raises the bar that much, and so I expect that much. I look like Eric Estrada from Chips, okay? That's what I think of the Buffy dolls. And to be truthful, the audience of Buffy, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure people will hate me for saying this. They don't quite seem like the doll-playing people, if you know what I mean. Except maybe to undress them.
Do you have to go through the whole laser scanning process with the faces and things, or do they just work from publicity photos and things?
You would think they just worked from cartoon sketches, but I've done many laser scans for lots of different reasons. We knew for quite some time. I've actually known, goodness, I've known the entire last season for about 3 years. There was a flashback sequence, not a flashback, there was a dream sequence that Buffy had, I think it was year 3, with Faith, where Faith had a riddle, and it was something like Little Miss Muffet sitting on her tuffet, counting down from whatever the numbers were, and I went to Joss to ask what it meant, and that's when he explained to me that I was going to have a sister, that Dawn, the character Dawn, would be coming on the show, and I think that's exactly when I became aware also of what the future plans were for the big surprise that we're not mentioning.
I had a stutter till I still do today. I just work on it a lot, you know. I obsess, if you will, with it. But I had a stutter throughout my childhood. And I was playing baseball, and when I quit playing baseball, I needed something else to do to occupy my time. Because, you know, idle hands, the devil and stuff. So I just talked to God and decided to challenge myself with, you know, because talking in front of one person, much less, you know, thousands of people, terrified me. So I just decided to take that challenge and to, yeah, when you stutter, a lot of it is you're afraid of that you're not being heard, or you're afraid that you're being judged. So I decided to take both and take my talents, as little as they were at the time, to Hollywood and get beat up for a while. Sometimes, you know, tough love. That's the way to do it. So yeah, it's kind of why I got into it. And then working with the NSF. It's always tough to say. It's been we've gotten a lot of letters, and it's kind of reached a lot of the younger kids, because I've been the youngest spokesperson so far to date, and I guess it reached out and touched a lot of people. I would like to have the superpower of being able to touch a book and then gain all the knowledge out of that book without spending the hours and days reading it. Just you know, you go into a library and you just start touching, you know. That'd be great for me. So it's a knowledge thing, but just a real, I'm lazy. That's all it is.
Joyce's death, Buffy's mother's death. That was really hard to shoot. It was sort of just, it was hard on all of us emotionally, and it was really rewarding to do an episode about death in a way that we don't normally handle. We kill monsters and vampires every week on the show, but we never really deal with death. And that was pretty cool. It's a great episode. It's really different. It's completely raw, sort of stripped bare, and my character was able to kind of go someplace which she hadn't really been able to go, which was nice.
Well, I had known Sarah since we worked together on All My Children. We worked together for about 2.5 years, and we had kept in touch through the years as she moved to Hollywood and began building her career from that point. And I had actually started watching the show because of Sarah, because I was a fan of her movies, etc. And I had kept on watching the show because it was, I guess it's kind of, so hearing it from a cast member that one can think their show's brilliant, but it really is. We have a great team of writers, we have a great ensemble cast, and it's really a wonderful team effort on all parts. I had, so as I was saying, I kept in touch with Sarah through the years, and had, because of her Buffy and because of just the show, Buffy had become my immediate favorite show, Buffy and Angel.
No, like everything Buffy, it was exactly the opposite of what I expected. I think if you were going to call the shots of what's going to happen next year, think of what you want to happen and then turn it on its head, and you'll probably have something close. I thought that he was a badass, frankly. I thought he was a big, badass before, so this is why they made him, what he was. But yeah, I was terrified, frankly. When I was told what was going to happen, I was absolutely terrified, which I later found to be a blessing. In the 5th year of a show, to be terrified by your character is kind of a lesson, really. And I'm not bored, Most actors will be bored in 5 years. I get involved religiously with that. It's the cornerstone of our social lives, frankly. We get together for 6.5 hours, read a play for 3.5 hours, break out some tequila and some beers and talk about it and dance, and then we break out musical instruments, and piano, bass, guitars, drums, and try not to wake the neighbors.
Well, I'm approaching it very traditionally. It's a real sort of classic sung-through musical where people burst into song, and I'm writing the songs right now, and it's got sort of a pop feel to it. It's not, like old 40s style numbers, but it's very classical in the structural sense, and the reaction is everybody's very excited except for a couple of my actors who are terrified. Chris is gonna do the orchestral score and help arrange it with me, and I'm gonna get another guy, Jesse Tobias, of Splendid. They have a song on the soundtrack. Yeah, he's gonna hopefully produce it with us. So it's very exciting for me. Well, I'm the Lord, so I don't have that problem. No, I try to just, doesn't matter how good people tell you are. Every time you write a script, you think it's the worst thing you've ever done. You think the next thing you do, you're going to fail. And, so you have reality around you all the time. And then you go into the world where nobody actually knows who you are. And they treat you like a regular person, no matter what you do. Even if you say, I'm Josh Whedon, they say, well, we don't know who that is. So it's nice to have the fan enclave and stuff. But most of my time I don't spend with people adoring me. Not nearly enough, in fact, being that I am God.
Basically, when Joss is not around, I now do all of the production, oversee all of the production. I oversee most of the stuff that goes on set, and I work with the writers and trying to break the stories, and I just do basically everything that he would try to do while he was here, except with about 3/4 of the genius. So, but I've said this before. Like, I spend a lot of time just thinking, what would Joss do? And trying to. There's a story about Billy Wilder. His mentor was a director named Lubitsch. And he had a sign up in his office that said, what would Lubitsch do? So in Joss's absence, I basically have a sign up in my office that says, what would Whedon do? And I try to, think like him and do like him. And and basically, you know, we have an incredible group of writers now, and all of them are also involved in production and editing and all of the many facets of the show. So in his absence, we all sort of fall into line and do our jobs. And when he's around, you know, I still do some more than I used to do, but you know, it's still his toy. So, you know, I haven't taken the key. You know. Well, pathetically for all of us, Joss doesn't seem to have any weaknesses. We're still waiting, and I mean, I know I sound like incredibly fawning, but it's all kind of sincere and pathetic because really I have yet to see something he can't do. However, there are things that I can't do, or don't do, you know, don't have as much interest in doing. I mean, Joss is really, comedically, you know, he goes to a whole different place than I do. And before I got here, I mostly wrote plays and movies about suicide and, you know, death and despair and ghosts. And you know, my background is really in hardcore drama. You know, and in fact, Joss called me the suicide girl for the first year that I was here because all of my projects had a theme of, you know, wanting to off yourself. And so really the episodes you see from me, which have that kind of dramatic bent, are just because that's sort of where my writing was when I got here, and I've had the opportunity to keep going that direction. I love to do comedy and humor, but it's just, for me, it's not the first instinct. It was hard to follow Joss, and he as a director is, you know, light years ahead of anybody I know. So, and I don't even try to, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what eye lines are still, you know, and try to give it a little panache without going overboard, you know. I don't want to look like a student filmmaker either who's like, you know, suicide, you know. So I just tried to tell the story, you know, I tried to tell the story and use the camera when it made sense emotionally and not when it didn't. So the experience of directing in both cases was, you know, hugely helpful in terms of understanding how the show works and how to write. It helped me figure out how to write.
I thought that the season 6 was very, it was depressing as a cast member and as an audience member because, you know, you were going through all these horrible, I mean, everybody was going through these awful experiences. And so I think it was a really dark season. And I mean, it was a lot of fun to do, you know, acting-wise, but still it was like emotionally very, you know, unsettling. And then, you know, you have the troika, the 3 guys, and they're running around doing all these horrible things for God knows what reason. And it was interesting to have like humanoid kind of villains that were rooted in our 3-dimensional reality, or 4-dimensional reality. I'm not sure which. You know, it was really tough. The way she died was awful. It was really, really horrible. And I wish that it hadn't happened. But I understood from a story standpoint why it had to go in that direction. The only way that Joss could get Willow's character to that level of desperation was to take the one thing away from her that she loved, which was Tara. And as awful as it was, he was really trying to put the message out that, you know, it was really, the Willow problem with magic really was an allegory for drug abuse and for anything where it's an addictive, obsessive thing. You know, when something, you know, when you drink too much or you do drugs, you sleep around and have no care for yourself. That's kind of what Willow was going through, this sort of like mad obsession, this addiction, and the only way she could go back to reality was to bottom out, and then she could, you know, return to the Willow that we all know and love. I wish that we could have worked it out, but it just kind of was. I think it was just there are extenuating circumstances that I don't really want to go into, and I would love to have come back, but sometimes there are things in your life that you have to stand up for. I just didn't want Tara to be bad, and that would have been a component of me coming back. And as much as I wanted to come back, and I almost did come back, that was something that was kind of dogging my not wanting to come back. You know, I just feel like people really love that character, and for her to be bad, it would just destroy people. So that was one of the reasons I didn't go back. I've gotten the most amazing letters from young women who have come out because of the relationship that Tara and Willow had on Buffy. And if you can make an impact on society, and in a positive way, it's the most amazing experience. Because I'm not doing anything other than what I you know, would do as an actor or as a normal person, and just that people respond to it, and you know, I'm not out there pandering for it, and that people just, you know, were part of the experience that Willow and Tara were going through. They became embroiled in the relationship, and it made them realize that it was okay to be what they were. You know, it doesn't matter who you sleep with. You know, it's how you treat other people in this world.